Welcome back to the Beyond the Bucket Show. It's my honor to have a very special guest, a man of many traits, a principal at Reed Elementary School, a college official, and also a realtor. I mean, I don't know how he has time to do all these things, but I'm excited to dive in with my good friend, Nate Ramezane.
Thanks for having me on, Chris. Good to see you, man.
Good to see you as well. And being a principal, we're filming this in early June, and this will probably air in late June. But as a principal, I just wanted to touch base with you and kind of see what you guys are doing, as a staff, as a school district, on how you guys are kind of navigating, the social climate that's going on right now, especially with equality. So I would be remiss if I didn't, bring that up and kind of see what principals and administrators are thinking about as we continue to go on and move past these times. But hopefully we'll move in a better place for everybody.
Yeah, I mean, it's a huge topic. It's something that it's sad that it took some tragedies to kind of bring it to the forefront of the landscape. But I'm happy that we're taking a look at it now, and there's more of a microscope on it because action does need to be taken. Yep. Things need to be put in place to bring about some equality and some justice. That saying that injustice anywhere is it's a problem to justice everywhere is absolutely true. Right. I feel fortunate to work for the district that I do. I think we have strong leadership, we have diverse leadership, and they're having the conversations from the top down. So Superintendent's Council has meetings. They come down to us as leaders of school sites. They have the conversations with us. And so we kind of have a district branding and a district message that we're trying to see pushed out in terms of equality for all and elevating opportunities for all.
Yeah.
And so when we individual principals, when we get to work with our community, it's about listening and learning first, trying to understand kind of what they're going through, how we can support the students kind of individually, whether that's through programs on campus, whether it's through counseling, whether it's through after school, before school programs, what we can add to the content and the curriculum and the lessons that are kind of being presented.
Sure.
So there's so many things that kind of go into it. I'm proud to have the opportunity to, working with students and young people is, to me, it's the most honorable thing that you can do.
Right.
Trying to give young students and young people in general an opportunity to be the best version of themselves, and going through struggles and going through challenges and realizing that, none of us are perfect. So many of us have gone down strange and dark times ourselves, but knowing that we have the support systems in place to come out and be successful with it.
Yeah, I'd be curious to see, how it all plays out. I know that specifically you guys have a very diverse school district. A lot of the schools in your district have multiple backgrounds and races and socioeconomic status, all of that. So it's a unique place for you. I'll be excited to see how you guys continue to grow. But, the good thing is, you have a good leadership with yourself at Reed, but not only just your school in particular, but really the entire district has done a really good job on just trying to make sure that they're educated, number one, on what's going on, and number two, how they can better serve the people in their community. I think that's all of our obligations as educators, to make sure that we're delivering that message and just making it hit home and making sure that everybody feels welcome, regardless of your background or your race or anything like that.
Yeah, I think that's, dead on. And the other thing that I feel very fortunate is having played sports, having, been involved in those kind of things. You meet people from all walks of life, all different backgrounds. I've literally, we both probably have either played with or against somebody from every single state in our country,
Right.
And I think being exposed to that many different kinds of personalities, those many different cultures, those different kind of traditions and things that they like, dislike, different ways of talking, different vernaculars. I feel so fortunate to have kind of been down, those paths. And, I'm lucky enough to have people like you and many other strong Black men, Black family men that are doing really right by their families and their communities, and just, really guiding lights
Sure.
for our community. So that stuff is really powerful to me too.
Definitely. Well, I thank you, my brother, for all the things that you're doing and that you're going to continue to do. And yeah, it's just going to be a great thing for all of us in the education realm. Switching topics just a little bit, you alluded to it. Sports has done so much for both of us. I mean, we competed against each other, we competed with each other. We learned so many things, and you have a pretty unique upbringing. Your parents were in education. Your dad was a high school principal along with a high school basketball coach. You played 3 sports pretty much, year round growing up, football, basketball, and baseball, and you really excelled in so many. Tell me a little bit about your childhood and just growing up with the background that you have, and it's kind of formed the work ethic and the things that you do today.
Yeah, man, that's, almost get tingles when I start thinking about kind of my childhood and kind of how things took shape for me.
Yep.
I grew up in a gym, like literally. My dad he was a coach, a teacher. He opened the gym on weekends for the city. He did all kinds. I mean, my dad worked, 3 or 4 jobs when I was a kid, and I didn't notice it then.
Yeah.
Really didn't come to the realization of it until like probably my 30s, when I was doing it myself and really thought nothing of it, because that was our lifestyle. Like, all right, Monday through Friday, we're hitting it hard with, books and practice and games. The weekend, it was waking up at 6 a.m. so that my dad could go open up the gym at Gunderson and host the open gyms there. And for the community, it was free for the community that he was getting paid through the city. But, it was probably nickels and dimes. But he loved being around the game. He loved being around those athletes. And, I mean, just incredible players used to show up to those open gyms. It was real good basketball down there. And so kind of seeing my dad, the way that he interacted with his coaches, his fellow coaches, his players. I had an opportunity to go and see him teach. And so those were really formative experiences for me. I never thought that I was going to get into education, to be very honest about it. When I was a kid,
Yeah.
we were very kind of, we were middle class, but my dad wouldn't buy me any extra pairs of shoes. I wouldn't have, any nice clothes. I had the very basic stuff. I always had enough,
Right.
I always had enough, but there wasn't anything extra ever in my closet, on my feet. And so I was like, oh, I'm going to do this and do that so that I can get whatever I want when I grow up. And,
Right.
but that kind of humble beginning and those humble teachings really helped create the work ethic that I have. And taught me a lot about myself, my family, and what it takes to be successful.
Right. You were very successful you had a very successful high school career in football, basketball, and baseball. I think the urban legend is you hit 6 home runs in one game back in Little League. I think the number goes up every single year. But what was it like growing up playing 3 sports and, just enjoying your time?
Yeah, that's funny too. I loved playing sports. I loved competing. And sometimes it got the best of me. I had to really kind of learn how to deal with, my anger and channel that to positive things. And that took a long time. But playing 3 sports, it was like as soon as one season ended, the other one was either already going or it was jumping right in. So there really was no downtime. As soon as football season ended, boom, we were right into basketball. As soon as basketball ended, we were right into baseball. And so it kept me busy. I like to say it kept me out of trouble. Because, I was on the court or on a field somewhere at all times during the year. And, I thought it was interesting how for a little while, and maybe it's still true to this day, people were going into specializing, right? They're just doing one sport or specializing in this. I always felt, and I still feel, that exposure to other sports and the skills that you learn in those other sports really make you better at whatever your best sport might be or whatever your passion is. Still
Right.
expose yourself and give your kids a chance to play these other things, because there's other skills that are definitely intertwined in how they're going to make you a better player or whatever sport you end up choosing.
Right. Yeah, I've got young kids, and that's one thing that I don't really want them to do is specialize too early. I want them to at least get through their freshman year of high school before they start specializing, if they want to even play sports. You know, who knows what's gonna take place in the years to come. But you know, early on in my career, I always wanted kids, and being a basketball coach, I just wanted them to play basketball all year
Yeah.
round. But as I've gotten older, I've seen the benefits. I knew the benefits of me playing three sports growing up, you know, pretty much my entire life. And then, you know, just transitioning to each one. Yeah, it was a little bit of, you were a little bit behind, but you weren't that
Yes.
far behind. And that's what people don't really understand. But I would say get into your freshman year, play as many sports as you can that year. And then if you have an opportunity to play at the next level, then you got to really start thinking about, okay, well, maybe I might need to get rid of one of these sports or two of these
Yes.
sports and then specialize. But so many times during their youth, you know, they're missing out on opportunities for just being a kid and having fun. And if you start that too
Yes.
early, I've seen a lot of kids get burnt out.
Yeah, you know, I 100% agree with that. You do see some of the burnout, you know, in the kids that maybe specialize too early or get too focused and too pushed into it. You know, I never felt like my folks pushed me into stuff. I feel like I really enjoyed doing it. You know, I loved going and playing. I loved going and competing.
Yeah.
That's where my friends were. That's where my good friends were. That's where I could go out and I could prove myself and show people what I was capable of doing. Just like you know, artists, you know, musicians, like
Yeah.
they kind of express themselves through their instrument, or an artist may express themselves through, you know, their art. Look at that piece back there, baby.
Yeah, that is a
Um,
nice
but
piece.
but I used to feel like I could express myself out on the court. You know, you make a nice pass, nice no look pass, and you know, you kind of have a little swagger as you come back up the court. That was me being able to express myself out when I was making plays, and it was, you know, a great feeling to be able to have that take
Yeah.
place.
For sure. So you played three sports, but you decided to play college football at UC Davis. You had a really good career there. Tell me about your experience and your time while at UC Davis.
Yeah, you know, high school was a great experience for me. You know, I had the opportunity to play on two CCS championship teams at two different schools, which was really great. Ended up having the opportunity to play at Foothill with you, which was a great experience for me. I loved my time up there at the Hill,
Yeah.
and then played at Davis. And you know, I really didn't know what I was kind of getting into to begin with. You know, the competition that we played at Foothill was very high level. You know, many of the teams we played, they were stacked with Division I athletes. So didn't
Sure.
know what I was going to get into initially, but you know, as soon as I touched ground out there, you know, I got taken in by some of my teammates, and being able to again express myself out on the field, show them what I could do.
Right.
You know, I always felt like my game was going to speak for itself. So get out there, show them what I could do, and then eventually, you know, I'll take more of a vocal leadership. But initially, just let my play do the talking. I had a great time out there. Met some great teammates. Still friends to this day. It was a great experience. And again, got to travel and see some different places in the country and compete against some of the best athletes around.
Definitely. College is such a great experience, especially that you mentioned getting to meet so many people from other walks and then traveling. You know, you get to travel with, you know, 50 guys or whatever it may be, and you're on buses and planes, and those sort of things you're never ever going to forget. And I think that's one of the biggest things about being an athlete at the collegiate level is just getting to expose yourself to things that you may not have been exposed to just in your little bubble. And I think that's so important for people. And obviously you had a great time and a great career. And, you know, once that career ended, you know, what was your decision process? You didn't decide to play on or continue, and you kind of wanted to get to life right away or get to your profession. So tell me what that was like.
Yeah, I mean, that's an adventure in itself too. You know, I do have to say, you know, one of the things you just mentioned really resonated with me. When you go on traveling trips and you're roomed with somebody maybe you didn't know, that's when you really get to learn about people too. You know, kind of having those weekend trips or those times where you're in the same hotel with a couple teammates. Man, you learn so much about people doing those things, and that really resonated me with what you said.
Definitely.
But man. But graduating college, you know, I wasn't really sure what I wanted to do. I had, dollar signs in my eyes, like I want to make some money, but I didn't know how that was going to happen. I had some people approach me about like sales type jobs,
Mm-hmm.
and I'd had some sales experience. I mean, minimal, but I'd worked at like an electronics store when I was in my early part of college and of high school, and
Yep.
and I was good at it, but it wasn't a passion. It wasn't something that fed my soul, filled my cup, so to speak.
Yep.
So I didn't know what to do. I was bartending at the end of my college career, and I continued doing that. And my mom reached out and said, "Hey, you know what? You're only working kind of at night right now. Why don't we pick something up during the day that's maybe not too hectic, not too stressful, but at least like, you're getting more of a routine day-to-day work." And she suggested that I start substitute teaching. And so I said, okay, I'll give that a try. And I did. And, I was a class clown when I was a kid. So I kind of
Mm-hmm.
knew what I was kind of getting myself into as a substitute. Sometimes you have kids that are, really on their job and really want to just get the work done and whatnot. And other times they see you as fresh meat, and
Right.
they're going to go to work on you. So I had both experiences. I subbed for a whole year. So I saw, man, probably 70, 80 different classrooms. And that really taught me a lot. It
Yeah.
prepared me for a future in education, because you get to see so many different classrooms. You get to see how different teachers operate, how what kind of discipline plan they've put in place, what kind of classroom management, how they design their lessons. So all those things really prepared me to become a teacher. And so that was kind of the next step. I joined a master's program through National University, and began a teaching career. And man, it was, just kind of took off from there. Each year got a little better. I like to say the better we become at things, the more we're going to enjoy it.
Yeah.
If
For
if
sure.
you go out and shoot 100 baskets, you're probably going to get a little bit better and a little bit better. You go out and shoot another 100, and you're probably gonna be like, man, this game is pretty fun, man. I'm pretty good at this,
Sure.
And I kind of looked at teaching in that way, and really any kind of profession. The more that you put into it, the more you're going to get out of it. And so, I put in the time to learn about teaching and learn about building relationships with people and kids, and curriculum and content, and delivering those lessons in a way that was unique and exciting and fun and engaging. And then it was just, continuing to push myself to a new challenge. Don't get just comfortable with being good at this. Well, if I'm a great teacher, could I be a good athletic director? All right, I'm a great athletic director. Can I be a good vice principal? All right, I'm pretty good at that. Can I be a principal? And so, that's where I'm at now, and just trying to be the best version of this that I can.
That's one of the things that have always attracted to our relationship, basically, because we're kind of the same way. We do a lot of different things, and we try to master it as best as we can, but we can't really stay still on certain things. Like, you said you were bartending as well as teaching, and I remember just from our conversations back then, like you would get home at 2:30, 3 o'clock in the morning after you're done, cleaning and getting your tips and everything. And then you'd have to be up, early morning to do your schoolwork,
Yeah.
and teach and be on point. And because if you're not on point, the kids will definitely know.
Oh
So,
yeah.
I definitely respect your hustle. I would say you're a hustler. You've always done so many different things, and you're good at almost everything you pick up, because like you said, you're just trying to make sure that you're knowledgeable about it. And then, once you're knowledgeable about it, now it's just putting it into your personality. And that's the best thing about, entrepreneurs like yourself and me, is like, hey, we'll learn about it. We're not going to do it anybody else's way. We might take some points or steal some points from the things that we've liked.
Yes.
And we're gonna mold it to who we are. And that's what I've always respected about you. You're a hustler, man. And I just,
Absolutely.
and
No,
you said,
I
go ahead.
love that, dude. I love that, man. I got to just touch on that, real briefly. Really putting your personality into something, because like you said, we do pick up from our mentors and our colleagues. Like every time I hang out with you, I learn something new. Whether it's about teaching, whether it's about being a man, whether it's officiating, we still talk about those kind of things. So
Yeah.
I pick up something from you from literally every conversation we have. and I'm going to now deliver that to somebody else. I'm going to deliver it in my way, and it's going to be a reflection of my personality. But, I'd be, remiss if I didn't say thank you for the things that, you've taught me along my way and along my path, and the impact that you've had on me as well.
Likewise, my friend. And that's what iron sharpens iron, right? And
That's
so
right, baby.
being around people that are positive and doing things in multiple arenas, and they're successful about it. And that's why I like doing this podcast. Like, selfishly, I'm learning so much more information by doing this. I'm getting a book, and basically get a book every time I bring somebody on, and I'm learning
Yeah.
about, their process, how they become great at what they do and excel in, their arena, and just that motivation that it takes to be great. It's been
Yep.
motivating for me, and I've been such in a positive place because I've been doing this with people like you.
Yeah, I love that. And you talked about my kind of crazy schedule, when I was a little bit younger. And yeah, it was crazy. And I think one of the things that makes some people a good coach or good at what they do eventually is their use of their time management, right? Because, yeah, you've got different things for each practice, right? 5 minutes of this, 10 minutes of this, 5 minutes, and we got to keep it moving, got to keep it on. That's kind of how I looked at, my daily schedule, even at work.
Right.
It was like, wake up at 6, get the dog walk in, get my workout in, go to teach, teach my butt off, do what I can to do that. Boom. From there, go to coach. That was when I was coaching at Foothill. So go and coach them up. All right, coaching's done. Quick shower, head off to work, go bartend, do that. And that would go to, like you said, 2 or 3, and then repeat that process. In between there, we also squeezed in getting a extra degree, right? We did our master's kind of at the same time.
Yep.
And just trying to put when I look back on it, I'm like, I don't know how the heck I kind of put that together.
Sure.
But people like us, we perform best when we're under pressure. You put us in a pack, and we're going to end up getting out front and leading it. And that's how I like to why I like to keep you on my team and collect the good people around me.
Definitely. Yeah. I look back on it, and it's like we were just doing so much, at that point in time, during that master's, I had a sales job that I worked
Right.
For Felice Insurance. And then I was coaching, I was officiating, I was doing a master's program all at once,
Yep.
but a lot of us were doing it at the same time. Nate Anderson, Ryan Cooper,
Yes.
Stephen Giles, they were all doing it at the same time too. I think you did yours first, and we kind of followed your lead.
Yeah. Yeah.
You were a little bit ahead of us on getting the master's degree and everything, but we kind of all fell in the same lane. But at the same time, we're all doing other things other than just teaching.
Yes.
Or in your case, being a principal. My case, I teach and I coach, but then I also own a business.
Yes.
And I try to dip into the stock market, and just so many different levels and so many buckets.
Yep.
That's why you're on the Beyond the Buckets. Tell me a little bit about, so you teach for how many years before you started getting into administration?
I taught for about 10 years.
And then you started progressing. You did some admin courses on, looking to progress your role within, whether it be that district or other districts.
Mm-hmm.
So tell me what that process was like, and then we'll jump into some other things.
Sure. Yeah. So I was teaching. I loved teaching. I still do. Like one of my favorite things is still going to the classrooms and watch our teachers teach, or work with our teachers, work with our students. So I still consider myself a teacher, even though I'm in the principal's role. But I taught for 10 years, and I loved it. And I wanted to have as big an impact as I could on people. And, I had good principals that I worked for, and I picked up things from them. But I also said, this is something I'm capable of doing. I think I have a special voice, and I think I have a passion that can be shared over a whole campus, not just the 180 students that I see every day. So I went back to school and took some administrative courses, got my administrative credential so that at least I was going to be eligible for it. And I actually sat on my admin credential for about 2 years.
Mm-hmm.
I did athletic director work, which is administrative type roles, but I kind of sat on it for 2 years and just kind of, try to prepare myself as best I could. I did admin designee duties on my campus. So whenever the principal is gone or vice principal is gone, I would fill in the role and do those kind of things. And then it was just like, you know what, it's time to throw my hat in there, or my name in the hat, and give it a try. And I was fortunate to be selected for John Muir Middle School in San Jose. And you know, I was hesitant at first, like anything else, because it's brand new. You know, I didn't have direct experience with it. It was, you know, I was changing school districts, so there was going to be that that kind of stress level added to it. But as soon as I kind of landed and started working with the kids and working with the staff, it all just kind of resonated and took off from there.
You know, that's a very good point. So there was a lot of steps that you needed to take in order to get to that ultimate goal. But a lot of people fail to prepare themselves for these situations later on. So, you know, you mentioned it. I was the same way. I sat on my master's for 3 years before I actually took a teaching role, because I was, you know, I had, like I said, I had the sales job. Right. I didn't know when that was going to come. I just knew if it came, I need to be ready for that moment. And so many people make a lot of missteps when they're skipping the steps. You know, you know, if I talk to a young coach, oh, I want to be a high school varsity coach. Well, I put 8 years in as a JV coach and a varsity assistant coach. You know, coaching
and an official, and you were an official.
Like this was a 10, 12-year process before I even got my first varsity job as a head coach. Or same thing with as a teacher. Like I had never taught before, but I had prepared myself. If that moment came up, hey, we have a job ready for you at the school that you coach at. Great, I'm ready to take it. I've already done these steps. And that would be some advice that we can both probably give people that are listening to this, is like, don't skip steps. Make sure you're prepared for that step, because you're never actually going to be prepared. To your earlier point, you know, you had never been a principal or assistant principal at that time, but you had all the requirements met before that. So yes, it's going to be a learning curve for you, but at the end of the day, you didn't skip steps. You're prepared. You're more than qualified, and now you can step in. And you know, that's why you got to where you got to at such an early age, before the age of 40. You know, a vice principal and now principal, and that's pretty cool.
Yeah, absolutely. And I kind of love what you kind of put together there in terms of the preparation. But you also address the fact that, hey, we got to take risks, right? If we want to really elevate ourselves, we have to get out of our comfort zone. And part of getting out of that comfort zone is doing that preparation. Like, all right, well, I've never done it, but let me just go get some work in it. Let me go, you know, sit behind a coach and just watch what he does. Let me ask if I can go to his practices and learn kind of how he runs a practice.
Exactly.
Let me see how he teaches this drill, because I need to learn like exactly how that footwork needs to be, exactly how that screen needs to be set, you know. So that to me is like that preparation and that work. And so, you know, even though you're still going to be uncomfortable about when it's, you know, you're in the shoes having to do it, and you got the clipboard in your hand, you know that you've put in the work, you know, you've done everything you can to give yourself the opportunity to be successful.
Definitely. Couldn't agree more. So pivoting just a bit, you're a collegiate and high school basketball official. We've had many conversations. You've refed so many of our games when I was just starting, and even now. I think we've both gotten so much better. A funny story is I'm coaching JV basketball, and I don't know. I have no clue what the score was. You might know. I don't know if we were winning or losing, but you know, we had a relationship for probably, well, it's going on 20 years, because we met in 2001. But, I don't know what year this was, but
we'd known each other at least 10 years at that point.
We had known each other for a while, and I'm thinking, you know, I got some leeway with my buddy, and you give me a technical. I remember that to this day. I think we talked right after that, I think, like on the phone or text. I think I text you. I said, hey, I deserved it, or something like that.
Something like that.
You gave me a technical, and Yeah. So tell me what you remember about that, and then we'll kind of get into what it's like to be a high school basketball official, because we do have a lot of coaches that listen to this program.
Yeah. Well, you know what? I always had so much respect for you as a teammate, as a competitor, as somebody that, I competed with and against, like me and you went to battle together. And so my respect for you my respect level at that point was also very high. And I knew that you were an official because I had, maybe you forgot, but I had a little tournament that was running through one of our local middle schools, and I asked you
Oh,
to go and
yeah.
officiate for us.
Yeah.
I actually gave you and Nate the championship game because I'm like,
Yeah.
yo, I respect your guys' game. I love how you work it. So get out there, you guys do the championship game. And so I respected you as a player, as a competitor, as a man doing right by himself and his community,
Yeah.
and as official, right? And so
Mhm.
I remember, and that was probably like year 2 or 3 of me officiating. So actually, it might have been year 1. Now that I think
Yeah.
about it, might have been my first like official high school year of officiating. So I came in with the idea that I had great basketball knowledge, but maybe I still had some room to grow as an official, right? And I mean, I still do, but I was definitely green at that level. And
Mhm.
I had a tough call on one of your kids, and I probably got it wrong, looking back on it, because you got pretty fired up about it. And
Yeah.
usually if you get fired up about something, you got good reason to. So I probably missed the call, and but you lit me up pretty good, and I think I allowed it for a little while, and I'm like, all right, I got to put the foot down now, because the gym was silent. I feel like people like knew that you and I knew each other. Like that's how the kind of environment was. I feel like at that point it was. And so I kind of I put up with it for a minute, and then I said, okay, that's enough, Chris. And then I had to put the T on it. But I think I reached out to you after the game, and I said,
Okay.
hey man, if I missed that call, my bad, dude. Like,
Yeah.
but no hard feelings and da da da.
Yeah, I definitely deserved it, I'm sure. But no, it's a funny thing with well, knowing somebody that officiates, right? Because they have to do it
Yeah.
fair. You have to be fair, and you don't
Yes.
care that you know that person. And now
Right.
you're at a point where you know all the coaches. They all know you
Yeah.
by name,
Yeah.
and it's better when you can get the rapport. Like
Yes.
even if you don't. If you don't like the person or whatever it may be, and everybody's human, I don't dislike any official,
Yeah.
unless you want to make it personal with me.
Right.
If you don't like me, fine, but don't take it on the kids, and,
Yep.
and just be able to have conversations. That's one of the things that you're really good at now. You rarely ever get to a situation where you're out of control as far as the coaches are concerned. And our league, on the men's side or the women's side,
Yep.
everybody is highly competitive.
Yep.
Every team is extremely prepared.
Yep.
We all know exactly what the other teams are trying to do and
Yes.
who they're trying to take away. And
Yep.
some of the better officials just know how to manage the game. They know how to manage the crowd. You
Yeah.
guys don't get in situations where you're too emotional, and you just talk to the coaches.
Yep.
Hey, coach, next time down, we can chat about it. And
Mm-hmm.
that's all you really want, is some acknowledgement.
Right.
The times that I get upset is, I'll say, hey, Nate, and you just ignore. It's not you, I'm
Yeah.
just
Yeah.
using your name, but
Yeah.
they ignore you, and you just want to have a good conversation with them. And if they miss it, hey, they missed it. We're
Yeah.
going to be bad sometimes. Our kids are going to be bad sometimes,
Yes.
but we're just
Yep.
having those conversations is very key.
Yeah, totally. And you coach in the most competitive league in all of Northern California, and I feel fortunate to be able to officiate a lot of that league's games. And there's a high level of gamesmanship. You have a high level of players. You have high level coaches who do come very prepared, know the tendencies of players. So a lot of times, I'll have a coach in my ear. Oh, Nate, he pushes off every time he comes
Yeah.
around the corner. Okay, coach, I'm watching for it. And so, I feel like I try and build relationships with the coaches, and try and talk to them with, integrity, with respect, but also kind of let them know what I'm seeing in the game. And, I feel like I do have somewhat of a unique experience and knowledge, having been a player, having played in the league. I was a WCL kid.
Right.
And so having kind of seen it, played in it, officiated it now. I feel like I get to see the game a little bit differently than maybe some people, but it's fun. I really love being a part of the game. And, I have so much respect for everybody that coaches, especially yourself. The hours, the time, the emotional energy that you put into coaching, man, there's really nothing like it, in my opinion, because there's just so much passion that goes into that. And I know, when I was coaching, when a team, of mine lost or my players did not play the best they could, I looked to myself first and said, what do I need to do differently? What do I need to do to prepare these kids to be, better the next time that they're out there? I didn't give them the opportunity to be successful today. So what do I need to do better? And I look at reffing as the same thing. So if, I watch a game film and if I'm not happy with, what my crew did or what I did, I'm thinking about what can I do the next time? What can I pregame, or what more do I need to watch so that I'm a better official the next time and I hit the ground running? And officiating, man, it's been so fun for me. I've had the opportunity, like you said, to do high school, do some college. I've done, I think 6 CCS championships now. So it's been a really special ride for me. It's something I really enjoyed doing.
One thing that you mentioned that I want to touch on is you're still working and studying the game too. You're studying film of you and your crew after games. There's plenty of times where you're saying, hey, can you email me the film? Or I know you do that for so many of the other coaches too, or try to get your hands on, what it is you did well, what it is you're still trying to improve on. It never stops no matter what you do. You're always gonna you're either growing or you're not. And if you're not, you're gonna be digressing, and that's not where you want to be.
Yeah, absolutely right. Absolutely right.
What's the hardest part of being an official?
Oh man, it's hard to say what the hardest part to me necessarily is. Maybe if I sat down and kind of reflected on that, but I just wanting to do a good job. To me, that I think I can be my own harshest critic sometimes. So just really being satisfied with the work that I'm doing and knowing that I'm trying to do right by kids. We're there to make the game better, right? Let the players and the coaches give their best, right? And so we want to stay out of the game as much as we can, only inserting ourselves when we have to. So it just, and especially the WCAL, there's so many judgment plays that come, right? You have very physical players. You have physical defense. You have guys trying to take charges. You have people getting setting screens where they're trying to get an advantage. So really just the most challenging part is determining when to put that whistle in the game. Because, if you just read a rule book and say, I know the game, you're missing 90% of it, right?
Correct.
You have to be able to apply the rules the way that the game is going to make the game better, right?
Exactly.
So that's probably the most challenging part, is just determining advantage versus disadvantage, illegal versus non-illegal play, marginal play versus non-illegal. So
that's the hardest part for us as coaches, when there's inconsistencies with the group, or we play a certain way for so long in our league, where you can play a little bit more physical.
Yes.
To your point, you're going to allow the action to play on if it's not really affecting the play. Yes. So, a slight hand check and then get your hand off. Well, by the rule, yes, that's probably going to be a foul. And you're gonna hit them, but in our league, it's not a lot of the times, and so you have to figure out which contact that you're gonna call and not. But the hardest part for us is playing teams that aren't playing that style for so long. One day we'll be playing, St. Francis or Midi, and it's such a physical back and forth game.
Right.
And then we play a public school team, in a non-league game, and then it's like, whoa, we're getting hit for, for 15 fouls in the first 3 minutes and stuff like that. But I wanted to ask you about parents and like the crowd, I get to a point where, you know, people will say, "Hey, did you hear the parent?" I literally block it out. I don't hear what's going on in the stands. You know, my
Good
wife,
for you, baby.
yeah, my wife is up there, our family's up there, and you know, they hear whatever they want to hear from opposing teams, our team.
Yeah. Yeah.
Have parents gotten worse during your time as an official, you know, over the last 10 years or so? And you mentioned this earlier when you used to play.
Yeah.
Competition may not bring the best out of us. I know for me personally, sometimes I got to check myself, and sometimes I'll even have to apologize to officials because I get so excited about it.
Yeah. Yeah.
But you know, what is your take on, you know, just fan interactions and all of that? I know you specifically, I've seen you do games where you've
Yes.
had to at least notify the administrator to get people out,
Yeah.
or calm them down. So
Yeah.
tell me about that. And hopefully if parents are listening to this, maybe they can, you know, just take some of the knowledge from a person that's actually doing it.
Yeah, man, that's some really important and great topics to talk about. Not only for coaches, but for officials, for athletic directors, for parents, for yourself. You know, running a successful you know, AAU program. I think these are the kind of topics that really need to be brought to light and have some major conversations around them. I think that sports bring us together. You know, when I think back to really the origin of sports, like, you know, if we go back to like the Greek Olympics, you know, we're talking about people bringing the best athletes from their community and we're going to celebrate these athletes and watch them do these amazing feats.
Right.
And obviously that's grown and it's changed. And now we have schools, we have professional teams, we have collegiate teams. But I still think that sports at their very core, at their very base, are to bring people together and to celebrate their abilities, their skills, their teamwork, and those kind of things. So when I go to games, I really try and watch from that lens. Like, I want to see this player, this team, this coach, I want to see them do the best that they can.
Yep.
You know, I want to see them perform at the highest level. And, you know, I am concerned with where the game is going to some level because of parents not having that lens, not watching the game from the lens of, let's see everybody play the best that they can, and just celebrate that expression.
Right.
You know, people bad mouthing other players, people bad mouthing officials, bad mouthing coaches. You know, to me, there's no place in the game for that. Everybody's entitled to their opinion, you know, and if you're not happy with how this person played, how that, you know, call went, you know, what, you know, play the coach had for the out of bounds play, you know, you're more than entitled to your opinion, but keep it to yourself if you're in that arena. You know, to me, there's just no place for that. I have had to check some fans. I've gone to site administrators and I've told them, hey, and I try and be reasonable too. I try and because I want them to stay there. I want them to be able to enjoy the game, right? You're getting to watch, you know, your son, your grandson, your nephew, whoever it might be, or just this community member get out there and play their heart out for this game. And
Yep.
so that's why it's important for me to do a good job, is because I want them to have the opportunity to play and to do well and to have integrity to the game. But fans yelling things out that are inappropriate, bad mouthing a call, a player, whatever. To me, there's no place in the game for it, and I will put them on notice for it, whether it's through a site administrator or myself. You know, I've even gone to people in AU situations and told them, hey, I want you to be able to sit here and enjoy this game, but it's not enjoyable for me, you, or anybody else if that's the kind of language or that's the kind of sentiments that you're going to be yelling out and sharing. So there just needs to be more education around it, in my opinion. You know, the game is I love how they have the sportsmanship stuff in most gyms now. You know, let the players play, let the coaches coach, let the officials
Yep.
officiate. And if we can just kind of stick to those kind of guidelines, man, we would have the sport and the games would be so much more beautiful and enjoyable if we just kind of stuck to those guidelines. And so, you know, hopefully athletic directors, coaches, they can put those as more guiding principles and have the conversations with their families around that.
Yeah, and if you think you can do better, feel free to or try to be an official. It's way more difficult than you imagine, and it's just tough. Like
That's the truth.
it's so tough. And when I'm watching some of these older games, on NBA TV, there wasn't that much arguing or bantering with the officials like in the 80s and 90s.
Right.
Um, they kind of just played on, and all
Yep.
the official, like it was almost to the point where some of the guys were not really afraid because these guys are 6'8" through to
Yeah.
7 feet, so they're so much bigger than these guys. But they had the referees or officials had so much of a better they're just looked upon in a better light.
Yeah.
They were more respected. I remember,
Yep.
I was watching the '93 Jordan versus the
The
Suns,
Pistons. Oh, Suns. Yeah.
Bulls versus Suns. It was
Yeah.
Charles Barkley,
Yeah.
and I think it was Bavetta that called the call. Charles didn't like it. They're inbounding the ball. He's not even listening.
Yeah.
And I think that's one of the things that have changed. And, now people, I think, are more entitled. They feel like they can voice their opinions. But
Yeah.
when it starts getting personal,
Yeah.
you've got, you're a person.
Right.
You have, you've got a whole life outside of this
Yes.
basketball game. And you're really
Yep.
not concerned
Yeah.
if this team wins or this team wins. You
Right.
really don't care.
Right.
And
Right.
that's the problem. And so many officials have stopped because
Yeah.
of that.
Yeah.
And we don't have as many good officials
Yeah.
because of that. And I hope it changes things, man. I really do.
Yeah, you're right. I'm sad to see, some of the good officials stepping away from the game because, the stress that they're under or put under around those things. And yeah, the game, it trickles down, right? From the NBA on down. The players learn their moves from it. Coaches learn different, setups and all that kind of thing. And the fans are no different. You go to an NBA game and now you're really paying to see these professionals. And so people feel a lot more entitled or comfortable yelling things out that are, in many cases not appropriate. It's not making the game better to yell a swear word at somebody out there or cuss at them for this call. It's not making the game better. There's no improvement.
Right.
But that trickles down, and it's made its way to college athletics. And unfortunately, it's making its way to high school athletics and the AAU programs. And so hopefully we'll see some positive change around it. People like you can do it, and hopefully somebody like me can make an impact as well.
I don't know. I'm just getting better. I don't know if I'm good at it just yet. I'm getting better.
Yeah.
One of the comments that I have about that is also so there's good people and bad people in all walks of life.
Yeah.
Not all cops are bad. Not
Yep.
all cops kill people.
Yeah.
But the bad ones really stick out. And I
Yes.
think for officials, the bad ones really stick out. So the good ones, they don't get the credit like yourself or many other people that you work with. They don't
Yeah.
get the credit for being really, really good.
Yeah.
Because the bad ones are so bad
Right.
that it just makes it difficult for you to understand. Like there are some good officials out there, and I think
Right.
that is one thing that people may not understand is like, hey,
Yeah.
you actually work at your craft, and
Yeah.
all the good ones do. They
Yeah.
care.
Yeah.
Some of the other ones, whether they have not gotten the mentoring or
Yeah.
I know everybody tries, but sometimes you got to want to try too.
Yep.
And that's the hard part. So
Yeah. Absolutely.
tell me a little bit about some of your outside endeavors. You're a licensed real estate agent.
Yeah.
And that just goes to show you that there's just so many buckets to your life or levels of your life.
Yeah.
So tell me about that, the particular arena.
Yeah. So, I kind of figured out, at least I thought I had, something figured out when I was young that, a lot of people that had some wealth and had some money to their name was based out of real estate. Many times it's successful businesses, but other times it's real estate. The one thing that you can't make extra is land. There's only so much land on this planet, right? And so if you own land, well, you own something that nobody else can create, right? It's the only asset that you can't just, make new ones of it. There's only so much land. You can build on land, right? So you can build homes, but you got to own the land first. So, I had that in my mind, that in order for me to make some money and build something for my family, that I was going to have to own some real estate. And so those first 3 years out of college, and I was fortunate to graduate college with no debt, right? We played on scholarship there. I was on scholarship at Davis. So I graduated with, $100 to my name, but no debt. And so that was major. And then those first 3 years out of college, I bartended, I coached, I reffed, I taught, I did everything I could to hustle and to make a little bit extra money. And I was so very, very structured about what money I spent, where I spent it, what I spent it on, that I was able to save, a significant amount of money to me at that time. And I'd saved about $90,000 in 3 years, which was major for me at the time, because I was probably only making about 60 grand a year. So I was saving half of what I was making, and so, that kind of discipline put me in a position where, okay, now I'm ready to buy my first house. And it was it was in July of 2008 is when I bought. And so the market kind of crashed in the beginning of 2008, and it ended up going a little bit further than when I purchased. So by the time I purchased in July, and so by December, I was down on my investment, probably 20 or 30 grand. And I'd put, every dollar that I had, I put into that house, that down payment. Right. And so I was, down, and I was scared, but, I had faith that in myself, that even though this investment, this equity was lower, that I was going to see my way through it. My house payment was very hard to make, even between the 3 jobs that I was doing, I still struggled to make my mortgage payment. But I did it. And I ended up moving. It was a 3-bedroom house. You went there, you came and visited me a couple times. I moved a roommate in. And so that helped, obviously. I gave them a good deal on rent, but it also helped pay part of my mortgage. So little sacrifices like that kind of put me in a position, where I learned, and I was then able to save again. And so a few years later, I'd saved another chunk of money, and I went into an investment property with a friend, Mohammed, one of my best friends still to this day, which is, sometimes it's dangerous getting into business with friends, but I knew that I was a man of integrity. I knew that he was a man of integrity, and we trusted each other. And so we went on investment property. We did really well with that. Within 2 years, we flipped it and made a significant amount of money. And then that original house that I'd bought, with all that money that I'd saved over 3 years, that investment significantly grew. I was able to sell that place in 2018. And before that, around 2000, and so our first house I bought in 2008. By 2011, I said, I could do this on my own. I can do this real estate. I can get educated on it. I can learn it. I can pass a test. Not saying I'm going to be the best real estate agent there ever was, but I can represent myself and save myself a little bit of money in commissions, or at least negotiating my own deal. So that's what I did. I educated myself on it and got my real estate license so that, I can broker my own deals or negotiate my own deals, make my own offers, and save myself some money in that respect. And so I'm on to my 5th house now. I don't own 5 houses, but I currently own 2. On my 5th place, sold the other 3, and have, fortunately, knock on wood, but fortunately, I've done really well with the deals that I've brokered and put together, and going to continue to grow on that path. It's something I really do enjoy.
Right. Well, it comes back to just being prepared, getting knowledgeable about the subject, finding as much information as you can, and then doing it responsibly. You weren't being irresponsible with the things that you were doing. It was a stretch for you to probably make the first mortgage, but you did what you had to do, and having confidence in yourself. You mentioned earlier, just stepping out and exploring, having faith
Yeah.
in a new venture.
Yes.
And so many times, if you want to go somewhere, you just have to start.
Yeah.
I originally wanted to start this podcast right around now in June.
Okay.
I think I sent you a text
Yeah.
early this year and said, "Hey, I'm gonna
Right.
do this podcast. I just want to
Right.
let you know." And then the COVID hit. Well, I was like, "All right, well, you got to do it." So now,
Yeah. Yeah.
I've talked to a multitude of people that have done it before,
Yeah.
are doing it now. Online resources, trying to figure out how can I figure the back end. What am I going to do? How am I going to edit? Things like that. And
Yeah.
you did the same thing with the real estate. And
Right.
I think that, you're right. You can't really find any more land. The
No.
entire world, or 99% of it at least, has already been explored.
Yeah.
And so, you can own, small pieces of land, and you can build on them, and you can
Yeah.
build a pretty good future
Yep.
with regard to that. And there's always going to be risk. Uh,
Yes.
I just now got into uh, into stocks and the stock
Yeah.
market, and this happened a month or two before COVID.
Oh man.
So I lose 75% of my initial
Right.
investment.
Right. Right.
I'm like, oh man. And so, I'm talking to my advisors and, people that have helped me.
Yes.
My father-in-law, one of them, and he said, just stick it out.
Yeah.
Put the money in because it's sitting in a bank anyway.
Right.
So just wait. You're doing it for the long term. You don't need
Yes.
the money.
Yep.
So now we look at it. It's now June 6th,
Yep.
and now the investment is back to where it was originally. Um,
Yes.
and you just have to wait and take your time and be patient, and don't make any brash decisions,
Yep.
because if you would have got out, you would have lost all your money at that point.
I love that you're talking about that, man. There is no get rich quick scheme, and if there is, it's also a get broke scheme too.
Right.
It just that if you're looking for the quick buck, you're also going to lose. You can lose it just as quick. Life is a marathon, not a sprint, and I have to remind myself sometimes that too. We're here for the long haul. So think about what you can do to invest into long-term assets, appreciating assets, those kind of things. Put your money in things that are going to grow and develop and flourish for you, and not think that you're just going to make a million real quick. It's
Right.
the journey of 1,000 miles takes one step, but you got to keep putting that one foot in front of the other to make it happen for you.
Yeah, I agree. What sort of advice would you give people in just kind of navigating things that they're passionate about, things that they want to explore? We're very exploratory by nature, and then having the faith to actually follow through with some of those things that they want to do.
Yeah, man. If you have an interest in something, go for it. Put yourself into it. We talked about the preparation piece. There's so much that goes into that. And when you're looking at work, when you're looking at jobs, when you're looking at careers, find something that you really will enjoy doing. Money will be there. Money will come and go. But if you do enjoy, pardon me, if you do enjoy what you're doing, life is a lot more enjoyable. You talk about filling buckets, and to me, that's also finding balance. Finding balance between your work, your family, your relationships, your friendships. All those things make a life. When you're busy, making a living, don't forget to make a life as well. And so finding the balance as you go through those things. Work your tail off. Beyond that, there's a thousand other things that come from it. But if you truly want to be good at something, if you want to be successful at something, you got to work at it. The old adage of you're going to get out what you put in is something that I firmly believe in. You talked about how being a coach, like, man, I did this for 9 years, and then I did this for 5 years before I even, took foot on a varsity bench. That's really what it is all about to me too, is it takes work, man. You got to be willing to put in the work. You got to be able to put in the drive, and it's got to be something you care about if you're going to be good at it.
Yeah. As we wrap up a little bit, you also have a fitness bucket. You know, you're a fitness enthusiast. You like to
Yeah.
work out. I wouldn't tell people to do your diet, but tell me two things. One, you know, what are you doing to remain in tip-top shape? You know, you're pretty much at your playing weight, I'm sure. I'm close to the same as I
Yeah.
actually weigh less than when I played.
Yeah.
But it's all about being lean now. I don't really need
That's right, baby.
to be that strong. My six pack isn't as defined as yours, but I'm working on it.
Yep.
Maybe I got to eat more cookies and bazookies like you. So tell me about your fitness regime,
Yeah.
and you know, and tell about your diet too. But you know,
I will. I'll share a little bit about that. You
yeah,
know, I think that I'm blessed. I think that I have a good metabolism. You know, I actually weigh less than what I did when I was playing. You know, my metabolism works so fast, it's hard for me to keep muscle on. So I do work out every single day. So I do have some interesting eating habits, but I work out every day. I do some form of muscular and endurance. So I do a lot of push-ups, a lot of pull-ups, a lot of body weight exercises. I do at least 20 minutes of cardio per day. So that could be a light jog. It could be getting on a stationary bike. And I tell people I'm like a hamster that's on its wheel, man. I plop my stationary bike in front of the TV and I'll watch, you know, ESPN or Comedy Central or something that I like. And I'll just sit there and spin away. And I enjoy it. It makes it so I don't think about it, you know, and I'll be sweating and dripping after I'm done. But you know, I do enjoy HIIT classes every now and then. I think those are great, those high intensity ones. So I think those kind of things, you know, for me, you know, working out is to be healthy now, as opposed to when I was younger. It was like, man, I want the beach muscles. You know,
right,
I want to look good. And you know, when you're playing football, you need to be bulked up enough that, you know, when you hit somebody, it's gonna make an impact, right? And
right.
so, you know, hitting somebody when I weighed 200 pounds was a little bit different than when I hit when I was 180. You know, it's just, you know, mass times acceleration equals force, you know? And
Yeah,
so when you add those two things together. So my regimen now is obviously different than when I was playing, but it still incorporates muscular strength and endurance. It still includes cardio and getting my heart rate up, because I think that's very important for our health. And, you know, stretching and flexibility, even though I'm not great at it, I'm trying to improve at that. Nutrition wise, you know, I always tell people, don't necessarily do as I say, not as I do. I don't eat fruits or vegetables. So that's just kind of like the first thing that kind of blows people's mind.
yeah,
Not because you know, I don't want to, or it's not part of my diet. It's just, I don't like them. I don't. And, you know, I know what I like and I know what I don't like. And so I don't eat fruits or vegetables. I eat a lot of carbohydrates. So I eat a lot of rice. I eat a lot of pasta. I eat a lot of bread. I eat dairy products. And I like all different kinds of meat. So I like steak. I like chicken. I like fish. Pretty much, you know, I've had all kinds of, I've had alligator. I've had snake. I've had all different kinds of meat. And so a daily, you know, kind of meal for me is breakfast. I'll usually have like oatmeal and cream of wheat. I love kind of like that.
you're not having the bazookies in the morning for breakfast, huh?
Sometimes, yeah. Chris knows. One of my favorite breakfasts is to just put cookies in a bowl with milk, and I eat it like cereal.
Yeah, I don't know
It's a
how
true
you do
story.
it.
That's a true story.
I would be a blimp.
Yeah, yeah, but like, yeah, I'll usually have oatmeal or something like that for breakfast. For lunch, I'll usually have like a chicken sandwich, and a sandwich for me is very bland to other people. It's just bread, meat, and cheese. That's a sandwich to me. That's what makes it. And then for dinner, I'll usually have a carbohydrate like rice or pasta with some kind of meat, some kind of
Yeah.
protein.
For me, I do intermittent fasting, so I don't eat
Yeah.
till 12 o'clock every single day. Uh,
Wow.
and you know, I'll have a cup of coffee in the morning. I didn't actually used to drink coffee until I had kids. I'll have a cup of coffee that'll hold you over, and then there's this thing called athlete's greens that'll kind of give you, you know, the vegetables and stuff that you
Okay.
need, but it's under 50 calories, and then I'll
Well,
eat
maybe I
it.
need to look into that.
Yeah, and then I'll eat at lunch, and then I'll eat till 8 o'clock. So, I've got 8 hours to eat. Usually I end before that because I don't like to eat really past 7.
Yeah.
But so
Yeah.
I'll stop around 7 and then I won't eat until the next day. But I can really eat whatever I want for the most part. I do
Yeah.
like to eat some healthy stuff,
Yeah.
but if I do want to eat brownies, I can because I'm not consuming as much calories throughout the day if I had 3 meals.
Yeah.
So, I did some research. A couple of my other friends were doing it, and it really kept them looking, lean and feeling
Right.
good. Like I feel
Right.
good.
Yeah.
Um, by doing it. But yeah, it's been something, and people say, wow, you can't eat until lunch. Like it's now just a lifestyle at this
Yeah.
point.
Right.
It's not, I don't even have to think about it. That first week or first 3 days, I'm like, God, my stomach is like, you got to eat.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
But,
Yeah, I guess that would be my question about it is how long did it take for your body to adjust for not having that kind of breakfast meal or whatever?
yeah, so it's interesting. The breakfast name is break fast, so it's
Yeah, yeah,
really breaking the fast. And
right.
so we've been ingrained to have 3 different meals or 3 balanced meals and a couple snacks. But if you think about evolution, when people were in the stone ages, nobody was really obese, and there
Yeah,
was two reasons for that. One is they were basically intermittent fasting that entire time. So what would take place is they're hunting and gathering all day for this meal. And
yeah,
so for, 16 hours, they may not eat, but then they may be eating during a period of 8 hours, and then it stops and then it repeats. So
yeah,
the reason why, people were able to stay lean is because they were moving all day, hunting and
yes,
gathering. And now there's only a certain time to eat, or they may not eat for a couple days. By that
right.
time, there's no, their body is almost in starvation mode. Okay.
Yes,
And so, by the time they get their next meal, they're storing all that extra stuff to make sure when they eat the next time, they don't know when they're going to eat,
right,
following up.
right.
So it just made a lot of sense to me in that respect. But
Yeah,
I feel great. I'm 20 pounds under my playing weight, like
yeah,
you were.
yeah,
And it's just really a lifestyle thing, and you learn different things. It doesn't work for
right,
everybody. Like it can't.
right,
My
right.
wife, it doesn't work for her. She needs to eat in the mornings, but
Yeah,
for me, it works well for me. And everybody's going to be different.
yeah. And I like that. We are all a little different, but it's great hearing other people's methods of being successful. It makes what makes them feel better. So yeah, I mean, I guess my advice around that would just be, hey, find what works for you, and if it's not working, try something else, man. Like
Exactly.
so I like hearing about other people's platforms and how they're addressing, their needs and what makes them feel better. Cause, I'm always curious to give it a try if I'm not feeling right.
Right. And for everybody out there, diets do not work. Lifestyles do.
That's right, baby.
So, and you can do that because your metabolism is different,
Yeah.
but your lifestyle is different. You do work out every single day. And
Yes.
so, that's what people don't really understand. And everybody's body is different, like we
Yeah.
talked about.
Yeah.
The last thing is you've been on a torn ACL for uh 6+ years, eight
Yeah.
years, like,
Yeah.
tell me how you've been able to do that, because most times when you hear about a torn ACL, you're still running, you obviously can't cut the way you would need to, but
Yeah.
you were in the middle of reffing or officiating during the season. And
Yeah.
I think it happened, you playing, basketball, but you couldn't get rid of those games. You were trying to work your
Yeah.
way up
Yeah.
and said, I'm gonna put a knee brace on and just kind of go without it.
Yeah, yeah, man. Our bodies are, they're fragile. When I was younger, when I was like a little kid, and I would go to my dad's gyms, and I'd see the guys playing. I'd be like, man, that guy's a stud. Look at that guy. He's well put together. There's probably no way that he could get injured. Like he's covered in muscles or whatever. And I feel like I got to that place in my life where I'm like, oh man, I look good. I'm made of muscle, and boom, tearing ACL at UC Davis, and worked hard, came back from it. Played my senior year, had a great year. It was one of our top 3 in tackles, made all league, whatever. But I knew that, I wasn't going to be playing on forever. But yeah, fast forward, I'm reffing, and I was playing in adult league because I still wanted to compete and all that kind of stuff. Boom, tear the same ACL again in an adult league basketball game. And yeah, I think it was in June, and it was during the time where we had ref camps, where we had to go and compete for, I was trying to get a college contract. And so I was like, no, I can't do surgery. I was going to ice it up and I'm going to rehab it as best I can. I knew all the things that I had done when I was at Davis to rehab it. So I don't have somebody in my ear telling me, hey, you need to push, you need to do this. So, it was myself in my own ear, rehabbing and working hard. And I got to a point where it was like, hey, it's functional to the point where I can do everything I want to do besides get out there and play at a high level. And so I can still ref at a high level. I can still work out at a high level. I just, my playing days are pretty much done. I can just be the guy that's just going to post up or, post up on the 3-point line and fuck them up. But yeah, man. So yeah, we're 10 years going now, with a torn ACL in my left knee, but the muscles around it are very strong. And, I know how to gingerly make stops if I need to on that leg. But for the most part, you wouldn't notice, if you saw me out there reffing, you wouldn't think that I had any kind of injury.
Amazing. It just goes into the type of person you are and the mindset that you have in all aspects of your life. So I know a lot of people are going to be inspired by your story. You fill so many buckets as a principal, as an official, as a realtor, as a good person in our society. So we just thank you for coming on the show.
Appreciate you, Chris. Thanks, man.
All right, my brother.
Be well, bro.
Thank you for listening to the Beyond the Buckets podcast. Please remember to subscribe, rate, and share the show with your friends. And until next time, take care.